New York City was alive, as always, neon signs flashing, the headlights of taxis reflecting on the rain-slicked pavement, the distant hum of people moving through the city like a never-ending river. The air was crisp, the kind of cold that seeped into your bones if you weren't prepared for it. Donald Trump stepped out of his black SUV, adjusting his long overcoat as he glanced down Fifth Avenue. His mind was elsewhere, caught between the weight of business meetings, political conversations, and the constant buzz of the media. It had been a long day, but instead of heading straight to Trump Tower, he felt like walking. His security detail followed at a respectable distance, discreet yet present. New York was his city, always had been, always would be. As he walked past luxury storefronts, the city's energy pulsed around him. Tourists took photos, couples huddled together against the wind, businessmen rushed past, phones glued to their ears. Then he heard it, a soft, tired voice cutting through the urban noise. At first he ignored it, just another New Yorker down on their luck, but something about the tone made him pause. Trump turned his head slightly, scanning the crowd, until his gaze fell on a man sitting on a bench near the entrance of a small coffee shop. A cardboard sign rested against his knees. The letters were bold, simple, and direct. Veteran in need, please help. Trump squinted. The man's face was half hidden by an unkempt beard, his eyes tired, his hands trembling slightly as they clutched the sign. His clothes, a faded jacket, jeans frayed at the cuffs, and old boots with their soles nearly worn through, told a story of hardship. Something stirred in Trump's memory. He had seen this man before, but where? Trump slowed his pace, stepping closer. His polished leather shoes contrasted sharply with the dirty pavement beneath the man's feet. The homeless man looked up, his tired eyes widening as recognition dawned. His mouth opened slightly, his breath hitching in his throat. "Sir, Mr. Trump?" The way he said it, not just with surprise, but with something deeper, something almost reverent, caught Trump off guard. He tilted his head, studying the man more carefully. The eyes, the voice, it clicked. "Who are you?" Trump asked, his tone not unkind, but firm. The man swallowed hard before answering. "Mike Hensley, sir. I never thought I'd see you again." Trump's expression remained neutral, but his mind was racing. Mike saw the uncertainty and rushed to explain, his voice trembling slightly. "Sir, I voted for you, twice. I used to own a small business, a repair shop. Things were good for a while, but life doesn't always go the way you plan." His voice caught. Trump said nothing, just listened. "First, my wife got sick. The bills piled up, then business slowed down, and I had to take out loans, more loans than I should have. When the economy took a hit, I lost everything. My shop, my house. Now, well, this is where I ended up." There was no self-pity in Mike's voice, just exhaustion, like a man who had been fighting for so long he had forgotten what winning felt like. Trump exhaled slowly, tapping a finger against his chin. This was the kind of thing he hated hearing. "And now you're just sitting here? Waiting?" Mike chuckled dryly. "Not much else I can do, sir." A beat of silence passed between them. Then Trump made his decision. "Come with me." Mike blinked. "Sir? You heard me. Let's get you something warm." The moment they stepped into the coffee shop, the warmth wrapped around them like a blanket. The smell of roasted beans and cinnamon filled the air. Mike hesitated at the doorway, suddenly self-conscious. The customers inside, mostly professionals in expensive coats and scarves, looked polished, put together. He was not. Trump didn't wait. He strode forward, picking a booth by the window, motioning for Mike to sit. A waitress approached, her eyes flicking between the two men with curiosity. Trump barely glanced at the menu. 2 large coffees, and a hot sandwich for him. Mike hesitated. "Sir, you really don't have to. Just drink your coffee." Mike wrapped his hands around the warm cup when it arrived, savoring the heat against his frozen fingers. He took a small sip, his throat burning from the contrast between the cold outside and the steaming liquid. Trump, meanwhile, watched him carefully. So what exactly happened? Walk me through it. Mike sighed, setting his cup down. I tried, sir. I really did. I fought to keep my shop open, but rent went up. Customers stopped coming. I took on side jobs, but they weren't enough. I burned through my savings, and before I knew it, the bank took everything. I was out on the streets before I even realized what happened. Trump drummed his fingers against the table. You're a veteran? Mike nodded. Served in the Marines. 12 years. Trump's expression hardened. And now you're out here? His voice was sharp. That's not how this country should work. Mike gave a bitter smile. No, sir, it isn't. Trump sat back, thoughtful. Then, without another word, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Trump's fingers tapped impatiently against the wooden table as the phone rang. Mike watched with confusion, hesitant to believe that this was actually happening. After a few rings, a voice answered. Margaret, it's Trump. Listen carefully. Mike's eyes widened. Was this his assistant? Trump continued. I need a hotel room booked at the plaza. Make it one of the nicer suites. And I need a job lined up. Find something suitable. I don't want a second-rate offer. Get back to me in 15 minutes. Mike sat frozen, his coffee cup halfway to his lips. Trump hung up, set the phone down, and took a slow sip of his own coffee. You got a suit, Mike? Mike hesitated. Not anymore, sir. Trump nodded. That's taken care of, too. Mike exhaled shakily, gripping the edge of the table. His mind was racing. Just an hour ago, he had been sitting in the freezing cold, barely getting by. Now, the most powerful businessman in the country was making calls to change his life. Why are you doing this? Mike finally asked. Trump raised an eyebrow. Because someone should have done it a long time ago. A lump formed in Mike's throat. I won't waste it, Trump smirked. You better not. Sunlight poured through the towering glass windows of the Plaza Hotel as Mike stepped into the grand marble-floored lobby. His breath caught. For months, he had been sleeping on cold pavement beneath flickering streetlights with nothing but a thin blanket. Now he stood in a $2,000 a night suite, fresh clothes neatly folded on the dresser. A hotel staff member approached him with a kind smile. Mr. Hensley, your car to the job interview is waiting outside. Mike inhaled sharply. He wasn't used to hearing his name said with respect. Dressed in a newly tailored black suit, clean-shaven and standing tall, he barely recognized himself in the mirror. Outside, a black car waited. Mike slid into the passenger seat, his fingers twitching nervously on his lap. This was his second chance. As the car pulled away, he looked up at the towering skyline. Don't mess this up, he muttered to himself. Back in his gold-lined office at Trump Tower, Trump glanced at his phone as a notification popped up. Margaret. Mike Hensley aced the interview. He starts Monday. Trump smirked, setting his phone down. That was how things got done. A knock at the door. His assistant poked her head in. Sir, the press is asking if you'd like to comment on what happened last night. Trump leaned back in his chair, glancing out over the New York skyline. Tell them. I just did what needed to be done. By noon, the story had gone viral. Twitter exploded. Trump just changed a homeless veteran's life overnight. Whatever you think of him, this was incredible. Say what you want, but this was an amazing act of kindness. Why don't more billionaires do this? News anchors debated it, articles flooded online forums, and political commentators argued over the implications. Was this a publicity stunt, or just the right thing to do? For Mike, it didn't matter. His life had changed. Mike sat at his new desk, staring at a framed photo of his wife and daughter. They had left years ago when things fell apart. Maybe, just maybe, now he could rebuild. His fingers hovered over his phone before he finally typed, Mr. Trump, I don't know how to thank you. I won't waste this chance. Moments later, a reply came in. Trump, don't. Just pay it forward someday. Mike smiled. He would. As the city bustled outside, Mike rolled up his sleeves and got to work.